I want to be honest with you. I am not a romantic man. I have never been a romantic man. My wife knew this when she married me. I told her on our third date that my idea of a good time was buffalo wings and a game on TV, and she laughed because she thought I was joking. I was not joking. She married me anyway. Her name is Alexis. I call her Lex. She is the most patient woman alive and I have the receipts to prove it. Here is the thing about being a man who is not naturally romantic. You get comfortable fast. And comfortable looks a lot like lazy when you've been married 6 years and you're still doing the exact same thing you did when you were dating, which in my case was basically nothing. I thought I was doing fine. She wasn't complaining. We weren't fighting. The house was standing. What's the problem? The problem showed up at a cookout. We were at my boy Kevin's place. The wives were inside, the guys were around the grill, and someone made a comment about what they'd done for their anniversary. Kevin said he took his wife to that rooftop spot downtown. My other boy Terrence said he planned a whole weekend getaway, didn't tell her where they were going until they were on the highway. They looked at me. I said we ordered Thai. Silence. Terrence said, bro. You ordered Thai. Kevin said, did you at least get the good Thai? I said it was DoorDash. That's when it started. They went in on me. Not mean. The way your boys do it when they love you but they need you to hear something. Kevin told me his wife had talked to Lex at church and Lex had said something like, Dave is Dave, I stopped expecting flowers a long time ago. She said it like it was a joke. But it wasn't a joke. The way that sentence hit me standing there holding a burger. I stopped expecting flowers a long time ago. That's what I had turned my wife into. A woman who had trained herself not to expect anything from me because I had taught her that expecting anything was a waste of time. Terrence looked at me and said, bro. I'm about to send you something. Don't laugh. He sent me Stoke. I did laugh. I said, what is this, homework for husbands? He said, yeah, basically. He said he'd been doing it for 2 months and his wife thought he was having an affair because he'd never been that intentional in his life. He said try the 90-day challenge. I told him I'd think about it, which is what men say when they have no intention of doing something. I downloaded it that night in bed while Lex was asleep next to me. Not because I had some big revelation. Because the Thai food comment was still ringing in my head. Day 1 was a prayer. Invite God into your marriage. I sat on the couch at midnight and I prayed and I'm going to be honest, I felt ridiculous. I didn't know what I was praying for. I wasn't even sure things were broken. But I said, God, if there's something I'm not seeing, show me. And I went to bed. Day 2. Tell her one thing you appreciate about her. I walked into the kitchen the next morning and she was emptying the dishwasher because she always empties the dishwasher because I never empty the dishwasher. I said, hey. I appreciate that you do this every morning and I never say anything about it. She looked at me like I had a fever. She literally asked me if I was feeling okay. I said I'm fine. She said, are you sure? That's how low the bar was. A single genuine sentence and my wife thought I was ill. Day 3. Give her a genuine compliment. Now listen. I know how to compliment my wife. I've told her she looks good probably 500 times. But this was supposed to be specific. I tried. I said, that shirt makes your arms look really strong. She stared at me. She said, my arms? I said yeah, like, toned. She said, Dave, this is a cardigan. I went to work and texted Terrence that I was going to need coaching. Week 2 I started making the bed. Not just pulling the covers up the way I do where it still looks like someone is under there. Actually making it. Her side too. I straightened her pillows the way she does it, with the small one in front. She noticed but didn't say anything. She just looked at it when she came home and looked at me and went about her evening. I started asking her about her day and actually listening to the answer. This sounds basic and it is basic and that's the whole point. I had been half listening for years. Phone in hand, game in the corner of my eye, nodding at the right moments. She knew. Of course she knew. She just stopped expecting anything different. Week 3 I was supposed to bring her flowers. I went to the grocery store and I stood in front of the flower section for 15 minutes because I realized I didn't know what kind she liked. I had been married 6 years and I didn't know my wife's favorite flower. I called Kevin. He didn't know his wife's either but he said just don't get the ones that look like they belong on a casket. I grabbed something bright and hoped for the best. She got home and saw them on the counter and said, whose funeral? I said they were for her. She picked them up and smelled them and then she looked at me with this little smile, the one she used to give me when we were dating, the one that says, I see you trying. That smile wrecked me. Week 4 I set up a date night. At home, because I know better than to try something complicated at this stage. I cooked. I want you to know that I can make exactly 3 things, eggs, pasta, and a chicken situation that works about 60% of the time. I went with the chicken. I put candles on the table. Actual candles. I turned my phone off. Not face down. Off. She sat down and looked at the candles and said, are we about to have a serious conversation? I said no. She said, are you dying? I said, Lex, I am trying to have a romantic dinner with my wife, please stop making it weird. She laughed. Actually laughed. Not the polite one. The real one. We sat there for 3 hours. I asked her about things. Real things. What she'd been thinking about. What she wanted to do with the house. Whether she was happy. That last one scared me to ask. She went quiet for a second and she said, I'm happier than I've been in a while. And I don't know what changed but I'm not going to question it. That's when I realized the bar hadn't just been low. It had been underground. And the fact that 4 weeks of basic human decency was making my wife happier than she'd been in years, that told me everything about what the last few years must have felt like for her. I kept going. Day by day. Some of it was awkward. I ran her a bath one night and put too many candles in the bathroom and she said it looked like a shrine. I tried to flirt with her like the first time and she said, "Dave, are you reading from something?" I said no. She said, "You're reading from something." I told her about the challenge. Not all of it. Just that I'd been working through something that was making me be more intentional. She said she could tell. Around day 60 I did something I didn't plan. She was sitting on the couch on a Sunday and I walked over and laid my head in her lap. I hadn't done that in years. She froze for a second and then she put her hand on my head and she didn't say anything. We stayed like that for 20 minutes. The TV was off. Nobody said a word. I finished day 90 on a Saturday. That morning I told Lex the whole thing. The cookout. The Thai food comment. Terrence sending me the app. Every awkward compliment and burned dinner and too many candles. She listened to all of it. And then she said something I think about every day. She said, "I didn't stop expecting flowers, Dave. I stopped asking for them." There's a difference. I buy her flowers every 2 weeks now. I know her favorite. They're called peonies. Took me 6 years, but I know. Terrence asked me the other day if it stuck. I told him yeah. He said, "Even the compliments?" I said I'm working on it. Lex overheard and said, "He told me my elbows looked elegant last week." I maintain that was a solid compliment.